As the joint attacks on Iran by the U.S. and Israel continues, an I-24 News reports indicates that Iraqi-based Kurdish forces have invaded and started offensive operations inside Iran. Here is the report.
So, really groundbreaking reporting by our senior producer, Yulia Pobegailova, indicating that Kurdish forces that are currently based in Iraq have launched a ground offensive into Iranian territory. This began already on Monday. We're talking about thousands of Kurdish forces crossing the border, taking offensive, positions in the mountainous area of Mariwan. This is the mountainous range really on the border between Iran and Iraq. This is based on information from an official from the coalition of political forces of Iranian Kurdistan. These thousands of Kurdish fighters, mainly from the Pejak, these are Iranian Kurds who have fled into Iraq, trained for this moment exactly, and have now launched their offensive into Iranian territory.
Also, Jonathan Conricus, a former IDF spokesperson, reacts to the reports.
Well, it's obviously designed to apply pressure on the Iranian regime. It is to signal to the Iranian regime that there will be pressure coming from various locations, from various ethnic groups. To put things into historic perspective, the Kurds are a large minority in Iran, but they're not the only large minority. Like them, there are the Baluchis in the southeast, the Azeris in the northeast, and other big ethnic groups that probably already are in some stages of similar development. I think it was pretty we could assess this ahead of time that the Kurds would be first because they are by far the most organized and they have a history of bearing arms and fighting for themselves. And I think this is designed mostly by the US to apply pressure on the regime.
Another respondent to the current situation is Owen Alterman.
Enormous amount of affinity in Israel for the Kurds. It has been for years, but also been an enormous amount of affinity in Israel for the Iranian people, especially for Iranian activists outside in the diaspora, but obviously for the bravery of those Iranians still in Iran with whom we can't communicate obviously as easily. And that I think is the opportunity for the regime and potentially the dilemma for Israel. A lot of mainstream Iranians are very, very worried. We hear this from all of the Iran experts here in Israel and beyond, by the idea of a failed state, the idea of Iran breaking apart along ethnic lines, and are going to be very, very nervous tonight reading this report. This is an opportunity for the regime to try to drive a wedge between parts of the coalition, between the activists in the streets and in the diaspora on one hand, and the ethnic groups on the other.